My name is Jamie, and for 10 years I thought Olivia was my person. You know the type of friendship I'm talking about, the kind where you finish each other's sentences, where a single look across a crowded room communicates an entire conversation, where you don't knock before entering each other's homes because you're practically family. We had matching tattoos, for crying out loud, tiny constellations on our wrists that we got on my 21st birthday, stars forever, we'd said. What a joke that turned out to be. We met in high school chemistry class, paired as lab partners by alphabetical order, her last name Reynolds, mine Richardson. She was the outgoing one, all easy smiles and confident laughter. I was quieter, more reserved. But somehow we clicked. Our friendship was the kind people envied. Through college, first apartments, bad breakups, and career setbacks, we were inseparable. I helped her move cities twice. She drove me to the hospital when my appendix nearly burst. When her grandmother died, I stayed up with her for 3 straight nights while she cried. When I got fired from my dream job, she showed up with takeout and wine and helped me rewrite my resume. At least, that's the story I would have told you 3 months ago. Now, I'm not sure I ever really knew her at all. It happened on a Tuesday. Such a mundane day for your life to implode, don't you think? Olivia had asked me to water her plants while she was on a weekend trip visiting her parents. She'd be back Sunday night, she said, but I had a key anyway, so I could stop by whenever was convenient. I let myself into her apartment that Tuesday after work. The familiar scent of her favorite candle, sea salt and orchid, greeted me as I walked in. I watered her ridiculous collection of houseplants, the ones I'd helped her pick out and name over the years: Maurice the monstera, Penelope the pothos, Ferdinand the fiddle-leaf fig. I still remembered the day we'd bought Ferdinand, struggling to fit him into my compact car, laughing so hard we cried when leaves kept hitting us in the face as we drove. I was about to leave when I realized I needed to email my boss a document I'd been working on. I'd forgotten my phone at home and the document was in my email, so I thought I'd just quickly use Olivia's laptop. She wouldn't mind. We used each other's devices all the time. Her password was my birthday plus her favorite color. Mine was her birthday plus her childhood dog's name. That's how close we were, or so I thought. Her laptop was on her desk, closed but not fully powered down. I opened it, and the screen flickered to life. And there it was, a half-written message in a group chat I didn't recognize, clearly interrupted when she'd closed the laptop before leaving. She's so annoying. I can't stand her sometimes. Jamie just invited me to go to that concert next month, and I really don't want to go, but I don't know how to get out of it without her having a meltdown. She's so clingy lately, and I just need some space from her constant neediness. It's exhausting pretending to care about all her problems. I stared at those words, reading them over and over again, hoping somehow they'd rearrange themselves into something less devastating. My name, right there. My invitation to the concert I'd been so excited about. We'd loved that band since college, and I'd been thrilled to snag tickets as a surprise. My fingers hovered over the keyboard as I considered scrolling up to see what else she might have said about me, but I couldn't bring myself to look. Instead, I gently closed the laptop and finished watering her plants with shaking hands. I don't remember driving home. I just remember sitting in my parked car outside my apartment, unable to move, those words echoing in my head. She's so annoying. I can't stand her. It's exhausting pretending to care. Pretending? She'd been pretending. For how long? Was our entire friendship a lie? Every late-night conversation, every inside joke, every tear shed on each other's shoulders. Had it all been an act for her? I didn't confront her. I don't know why exactly. Maybe it was shock, maybe it was pride. Or maybe some part of me still hoped there was an explanation, that I'd misunderstood or taken her words out of context. When she returned from her trip, she texted me like nothing was wrong. "Home, sweet home. Thanks for keeping my plant babies alive. Coffee this week?" I stared at the message for a long time before responding. "Sure, Thursday work?" And just like that, I slipped into my own act. I met her for coffee that Thursday at our usual place. I smiled at the right times. I asked about her parents. I laughed at her stories. But I felt hollow, like I was watching myself from a distance, playing the role of her best friend while knowing it wasn't real. I analyzed every interaction we'd ever had, searching for signs I'd missed. Had she always taken slightly longer to respond to my texts? Had her eyes glazed over when I talked about my problems? Had her hugs felt obligatory rather than genuine? I couldn't tell anymore what was real and what was my paranoia. For the next few weeks, I kept up the charade. We got lunch, we texted, we even went shopping together. But I started pulling back in small ways. I stopped initiating plans. I kept our conversations light and impersonal. I stopped sharing the deeper parts of myself, my fears, my dreams, the daily minutiae that best friends usually exchange. If she noticed, she didn't say anything. Then came the moment of truth. 3 weeks after my discovery, it was a Friday night, and I was alone in my apartment halfway through a glass of wine in a movie I wasn't really watching, when my phone rang. Olivia's face lit up my screen. "Jamie?" Her voice sounded thick, like she'd been crying. "Can you come over? Mark and I just had the worst fight, and I think it's really over this time." Mark was her boyfriend of 8 months. Nice guy, but they'd been having problems lately. Or at least, that's what she'd told me. Now I wondered if that had been true, or just another topic of conversation to maintain our friendship facade. Before my discovery, I would have been in my car within minutes, armed with ice cream and a willingness to trash talk Mark all night if that's what she needed. I would have held her while she cried, assured her she deserved better, helped her analyze every detail of the fight. But now I felt nothing but a dull sense of obligation and an undercurrent of resentment. "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, my voice deliberately neutral. "That really sucks." She was quiet for a moment, maybe waiting for my usual offer to come over. When it didn't come, she pressed on. "Could you maybe come over? I don't want to be alone right now." I looked at my half-empty wine glass, at the paused movie on my TV screen. I thought about her words on that laptop. It's exhausting pretending to care about all her problems. "Actually, I'm kind of in the middle of something right now," I said, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. "Can we catch up tomorrow instead? Maybe get brunch?" Another pause, longer this time. I could almost hear her processing my response, so different from my usual immediate rush to her side. "Oh," she finally said, "yeah, sure, no problem. I shouldn't have bothered you so late anyway." "You're not bothering me," I lied. "I'm just busy right now." "Right. Yeah. Brunch tomorrow, then?" "Sure, the usual place, at 11. "Perfect. Sorry again for calling so late." "No worries. Good night, Olivia." I hung up and stared at my phone for a long moment before turning it off completely. Then I refilled my wine glass and unpaused my movie, but I couldn't focus on it. All I could think about was how strange it felt to give her the same energy she had apparently been giving me, the polite distance, the performance of friendship without the substance. I didn't sleep well that night. Part of me felt guilty. What if her breakup was genuinely devastating? What if she really needed someone? But another part of me, a part that was growing louder by the day, kept reminding me, it's exhausting pretending to care. The next morning, I arrived at our usual brunch spot exactly on time. Olivia was already there, her eyes puffy from crying, fidgeting with her napkin. She looked up when I approached, a tentative smile forming. "Hey," she said, "thanks for coming." I slid into the booth across from her. "Of course. How are you holding up?" She launched into the story of her fight with Mark. Something about him canceling plans with her friends one too many times, about feeling like she wasn't a priority, about hurtful words exchanged. I nodded at the appropriate moments, made sympathetic noises, asked the expected questions. But I was conscious of how superficial my responses were, how I was giving her exactly the level of emotional support she had implied I deserved. Polite concern without real investment. "I just don't know what to do," she concluded, her eyes welling up again. "I mean, do I call him? Wait for him to call me? Just end it for good?" Before, I would have helped her analyze every angle. I would have reminded her of previous conversations, of patterns I'd observed, of things she'd said she wanted in a relationship. I would have been fully present, fully engaged. Instead, I shrugged and said, "That's tough. What do you think you should do?" She blinked, seemingly thrown by my non-answer. I don't know. That's why I'm asking you." "Well, you know your relationship better than I do," I said, taking a sip of my coffee. "I'm sure you'll figure out what's best." She stared at me for a moment, her brow furrowing slightly. "Are you okay? You seem different." I met her eyes, wondering if this was the moment I'd tell her what I'd seen. But what would be the point? To make her feel guilty? To force an apology that wouldn't change how she really felt about me? No, I decided. This new dynamic between us, this honest distance, was better than the pretense of closeness. "I'm fine," I assured her with a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. "Just a little tired. Work has been crazy lately." She nodded, but I could tell she wasn't convinced. Good. Let her wonder. Let her feel the uncertainty I'd been living with since reading her words. As brunch continued, I maintained my pleasant but detached demeanor. I asked about her parents' health, commented on the restaurant's new menu items, discussed an upcoming movie we talked about seeing. All the trappings of friendship without the foundation of genuine care. By the time we parted ways with a quick hug in the parking lot, I could sense her confusion. This wasn't the Jamie she knew, the one who would drop everything for her, who would listen for hours, who would offer unwavering support and heartfelt advice. This was someone else, someone who matched her own level of investment perfectly. Over the next few weeks, our interactions followed this new pattern. I responded to her texts, but rarely initiated them. I accepted invitations, but always had a reason to leave early. I asked surface-level questions, but never probed deeper. I was becoming the friend she deserved, present but not invested, friendly but not intimate. It was during this time that I began reconnecting with other people in my life, colleagues I'd click with but never made time for, old college friends I'd lost touch with, neighbors I'd waved to but never really known. I joined a book club. I took a pottery class. I started filling my life with connections that didn't revolve around Olivia, and to my surprise it felt good, liberating even. About a month after the laptop incident, Olivia suggested we meet for drinks on a Friday night. I agreed, arriving at the small cocktail bar we'd discovered together years ago. She was already at a corner table, 2 drinks waiting. My usual, gin and tonic with extra lime. "I ordered for you," she said as I sat down. "Hope that's okay." "Thanks," I replied, taking a small sip. She seemed nervous, fidgeting with her cocktail napkin, avoiding my eyes. Finally, she took a deep breath and looked up at me. "Jamie, I need to ask you something, and I want you to be honest with me." I nodded, my heart rate picking up slightly. "Okay. Are you mad at me? Did I do something wrong because things have felt different between us lately?" There it was, the opening I'd been waiting for, the chance to confront her about what I'd seen, to demand explanations, apologies, reassurances. But as I sat there, looking at her concerned expression, I realized something. I didn't need any of that anymore. The truth was, our friendship had been changing long before I saw that message. Maybe we'd simply outgrown each other. Maybe the closeness I thought we had was something I'd been clinging to out of habit, out of fear of losing a central pillar of my identity. Maybe we'd both been pretending in our own ways. "Nothing's wrong," I said finally. "People change, relationships evolve. We're not the same people we were in high school or even last year." She studied my face, searching for something more. "So, there's nothing specific? Nothing I did?" I thought about the laptop, the message, the casual cruelty of her words. I could throw them back at her now, watch her face crumble with guilt and shame. But what would that accomplish? A tearful apology? Desperate attempts to repair what was already broken? More pretending? "No," I said instead. "Nothing specific. I've just been reevaluating some things in my life lately, figuring out what I need going forward." "And what do you need?" she asked quietly, her fingers still worrying at the napkin. "Authenticity," I said simply. "In all my relationships." She nodded slowly, and I wondered if she heard the subtle accusation beneath my words, if she connected my sudden change in behavior to her unfinished message on that laptop screen. "I need that too," she replied after a moment. "And I feel like maybe we've lost that somewhere along the way." I didn't disagree. We sat in silence for a while, sipping our drinks, the weight of a decade of friendship hanging between us. "So what does this mean for us?" she finally asked, her voice small. I considered the question carefully, Was there still an us to salvage? Did I want to try? Or was it better to let go of something that perhaps had run its course long ago? I don't know, I answered honestly. I think maybe we need some space to figure that out, some time to be honest with ourselves about what we want from this friendship. She nodded again, blinking rapidly. I don't want to lose you, Jamie. The irony of her words wasn't lost on me. Had she ever really had me? If all this time she'd found me annoying, clingy, exhausting? Or was I the one who had never really had her? The real her, not the version she pretended to be for my benefit. I think we've already been losing each other for a while, I said gently. We just didn't want to admit it. We finished our drinks in a thoughtful silence, then parted ways with a hug that felt both familiar and foreign. No plans were made for next time, no promises to text later, just a quiet acknowledgement that whatever came next would be different from what came before. As I walked to my car, I felt a strange mixture of sadness and relief. The friendship I thought I had was gone, or perhaps had never existed in quite the way I believed. But in its place was something new, a commitment to myself, to never again pour my heart into a relationship where it wasn't truly valued. That was 3 months ago. Olivia and I still talk occasionally, a text here, a social media comment there. We even got coffee once, a pleasant but superficial catch-up that bore little resemblance to the intense heart-to-hearts we once shared. I don't know if she ever realized that I saw her message. I'd never told her, and she never confessed. Maybe she thinks our friendship naturally drifted apart, as many do. Maybe she's relieved. As for me, I'm surprised by how much I've grown since that Tuesday afternoon. My world, which once revolved so heavily around one friendship, has expanded in ways I never expected. I've discovered parts of myself that were overshadowed by the role I played as Olivia's best friend. I've formed new connections that feel honest, balanced, and genuinely nurturing. Sometimes I look down at the constellation tattoo on my wrist and feel a pang of nostalgia for what I thought we had, but then I remember, stars aren't permanent either. They change, they evolve, they sometimes fade away entirely, and in their place new constellations form. Different, but no less beautiful. I gave Olivia the same energy she gave me, and in doing so I found the energy I needed to give myself. Not revenge, not petty retaliation, but simple self-respect. The gift of matching someone's investment in you instead of pouring yourself into a one-sided relationship. Sometimes the worst discoveries lead to the best realizations. Sometimes finding out you're alone is the first step to discovering you're actually stronger than you ever knew.